Back to my channel CodeMonger. Today we are going to see another problem which is numbered 1071, greatest common divisor of string. So it is a video belonging to the series of Leetcode 75. So let's try to solve that. Okay. So let's go through the problem statement. For two strings s and t, we say t divides s if and only if s is equals to t plus t plus t. Okay, that is t is concatenated with itself one or more times, right? So what it is trying to say, like there is given two strings s and t. We say the string the t strings divides s if it can be represented in this form, right? So uh, component of the t string is repeated multiple times such that it constitutes s. Okay, so if you look at the example here, right? Okay, on the right hand side, if you see, right, so there is this component of AB, right? So this is the smallest component and it is being repeated multiple times such that it forms a bigger string, right? So that's what they are being told in the problem. So if you look at on the left hand side, the S represent basically this complete AB, right? And the T represents only AB, right? So that small component, if we repeat it multiple times, if it forms another large string, right, then we say then the smaller component, that is T, divides the bigger string S. Okay, so that's what's being told in the problem. Okay, so let me clear that. Okay, now we have been given two strings str1 and str2. Return the largest string x such that x divides both str1 and str2. What they are trying to say, like we'll be given two strings str1 and str2, and we have there is one smaller component x which is present in both the strings str1 and str2. We have to find that out, right? But before that we have to even check also whether that is even there in both the strings or not. Okay, so that smallest component x we have to figure out, and before that we have to check whether it is even present in the strings or not, right? So these are the two questions that we have to answer. Now let's try to understand how we can actually solve this problem. Okay, so look at the right hand side, and now here what they have told us, like we have been given two strings, let's say a and b. Okay, so to solve these types of problem, right, we have to assume something. Like, let's say what I meant by this assumption is, let's say what's being said in the problem is correct. Okay, so if what's being said in the problem is correct, then there must be some repeating block in this B string and in this A string which constitutes it. Okay, let's just assume that for now. And if that's true, that just by looking at it, we can know that the repeating component is AB. Okay, that smaller component is AB, and that forms this B string. And then if we repeat it multiple times, it forms the bigger string A. Okay, so just by looking at it, we know it. Now, if we have to confirm what's being said is correct, right? How we can actually validate that, right? So if it is being said that smaller component is being repeated multiple times, it forms this string B. Let's say AB. These circles represent smaller components AB, and the same smaller component, if repeated three times, it forms a string A, right? If that's correct, if I write this smaller component, right, if I try to add this B string in the front of A string, right, it won't change anything, right, because all the components are similar. So if I check it in this way, right, if I add it in front, it looks something like this, right? And if I add it in the back, it will look something like this, right? So if I add it in front and if I add it in the back, it won't change anything, right? So that's our first validation, right? That's our first validation to see if the both the strings constitutes of the same component. When it will actually fails, it's something like this. Let's say the second component, right, in the B string is something like this. It is some other component. Instead of AB, it's AC. Okay, let's mark it as AC just for clarity. First one is AB, so it is in blue color. So these are all ABs, so they also represent AB in the blue color. But let's say this is C. Okay, now this AC is represented in the red color. Okay, now if I try to add it right at the end of by adding both the strings, right, AB, so it would look something like this. Fine, right? So let's take it out and create a duplicate it, and let's say it looks like this right now. Okay, it looks something like this. Now if I try to add the same B string in the front of A string, now it looks something like this. Okay, now if I try to let me duplicate it also. Now it looks something like this, right? So we can clearly see here, right, that these two are not equal. Okay, these two are not equal. So that's how it will actually fail in case the smaller component, the most smallest component that's being told is not same, right? It's not same, and that's how we will do the initial check, and we will know there is something odd in either of the two strings that's violating the given condition. Okay, so that's the first condition. First question, that's how we answered, and I hope that is clear. Okay, now let's move on to the second part of the question. Like, let's assume, right, the- that the repeating component is actually correct, right? This repeating component that we are discussing about, this one, okay, this is correct. So what will happen is like we have let me take this out. Okay, so basically what will happen is we have the same components available here. Okay, let us assume we have this okay, we have this, and these are the initial five components that were present, right? Okay, so let's say all of them are present now. This was our B string, this was our A, right? This is our A, and this is our B. Okay, now we know that and this what it is, this is the what each of this represent is AB. Okay, this blue block, what this represent is an AB, right? So this is the smallest unit which is present in both A and B. And now we need to figure it out, like what is the smallest string. Right now just by looking at it we can tell, but from code point of view we don't know that how to figure that out. But we know that there is some smallest building block that is present in both A and B, right? And it's been repeated multiple times, right? So if you see it here, this blue block is repeated three times. Okay, and here that blue block is repeated two times, right? But we need to find out what's the length of this blue block. Okay, so if you see, look at it, right, by now you should be able to figure it out that we are talking about a common divisor, right? If we multiply that common divisor, right, three times, and this by two times, so we will get the length of the B. Okay, so how we can find this common divisors? What is this common divisor, right? So we need to figure out not figure out, like we have been given in the problem the length of both A as well as B, right? Since the string is given, I can always know what's the length. So if you look at this example right here, so the length of A is 6 and the length of B is 4. Okay, so from question we have been given the length of A is actually 6 and the length of B is 4. Now if we want to figure out this X, right, what's this common value, right, that's being repeated multiple times in order to form our string. So how we can do that? If we find out the GCD, right, the GCD of both 6 and 4, right, then we'll be able to figure out that value of x. So if you find the GCD of 6 and 4, right, that would be our answer. So let's try to write all the divisors of 6, right? So that's 2 and 3, right? And if we write the same for 4, it's 2, 2, right? Something like this. Now, if you look at it, right, what's the common across both of them? That's 2 and 2. So the GCD for both 6 and 4 comes to be 2, right? And if we check that, right, if we put that here, 2 times 3 is 6 and 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so that's what is expected in this problem. With the help of this, first thing that we do is we did the validation, checking whether there is a common building block that will form both the strings A and B. So with this validation, right, this was our first validation. With this, we check that, right? And the second one with that which we wanted to validate was what's that GCD value, right? So this was the second thing. Now, once we are able to figure out that what's the common length, right? What's the common this is the common block and what its length. Third step is just to take out that from any of the strings given. So we have both, right? Like A, B, A, B, A, B, right? So this was our first string, right? And then we have been given a second string AB and AB. Now we know this is a second string. Now we know that the GCD for us is 2, right? So from any of the two strings, if you take out and from 0 to the second index, right? 0 to the second index, you will get our desired answer. So that's all we have to do. We used to need to find the substring, right? We need to find the substring from 0 to the GCD, right? If we are able to do that, we will get our desired answer. Okay, so I hope the understanding is clear. Now let's just try to write that in the code. Okay, so whatsoever we have discussed, we will try to write down the same thing in the code, so we are able to understand that correctly. Okay, now let's try to do that. So in the problem, we have been given strn was str2. Let's change it to a and b, okay, for simplicity. And if in the problem a plus b, right, is equals to, right, the first condition that we discussed is equals to b plus a, right, then if it is equal to false, then we have to simply return that there is no solution existing. So that's all done. Otherwise, what we have to do is we have to find the GCD of both the length of A's length, right, and B dot length. So whatsoever is the common factor, we will get it from there, right? So this GCD would represent that. Now, once we have find that out, we simply have to return a dot substring from 0 comma GCD. Okay. Now we have to write this GCD function. If you in Java, there is also in big inbuilt a GCD function big integer. You can use that, but from interview point of view, it could be better if you write your own GCD function. Okay, so it's a small function only. You can write it like this. Okay. It's a recursive function, and with the help of this you would be able to get the GCD, right? Once that is done, just let's try to run it and see if we're getting the desired answer. So that's correct. Now try to submit it. So yeah, its runtime is 0 millisecond, beats 100% of the solutions. See, yes guys, that was all about this problem. So hope you understood the solution that I have explained. If there is any question or doubt, do ask me in the comment section. I'll be glad to answer that. And do check out other contents on this channel. There are various playlists like Leetcode 75, Blind 75, and various other playlists that you can check out if you are interested, right? So if you do like the content, subscribe to my channel for more future content like this. See you in the next video.